you have to use force on them because they'll run into traffic or they'll do God knows what. I mean, I'm a Zazian, I love Thomas Oz, but there are people who are mentally handicapped and they have to be controlled for their own good. Look, if there was somebody on the bridge ready to commit suicide, what I would do, and this gets back to my concentration camp guard thing, I would grab him, an adult, and I would imprison him for a day or so to try to convince him not to commit suicide, and I would pay the penalty for it if he said, well, you know, whatever, I want to do it. So I think that we have to look at these principles with a little bit of common sense, and children are a different category than adults.
Last very quick question.
Hi Walter, thank you for coming out and rushing over here from Auburn. My brother was down there and he had a really awesome time. You were very well received down there. Okay, my quick question is, and it ties right in with converting more people. You know, Vancouver, the lower mainland, it's very, you know, MEP support, socialism is rampant here. A lot of confusion about what capitalism is and isn't. You, as I know it, were once a communist. And you went to see Ayn Rand speak, and that night you went to dinner and you were converted to and you were led to the path to your philosophy now. In a nutshell, what was said to you, and what could I take from that to use when I speak to other people?
Well, what happened was Ayn Rand came to Brooklyn College to speak, and I was a Brooklyn Jew, and all Brooklyn Jews were, you know, lefties, and if you weren't, you were weird. I was moderate in those days, and I came to boo and hiss her. And at the end of the lecture, the Ayn Rand study group that had invited her to campus said anyone could come to lunch in her honor, even if you disagree. So I came, and there was this long table, maybe 50 people on the side. Ayn Rand was at the head, Alan Greenspan, Nathaniel Brandon, Peikoff, and I was relegated to the foot of the table, way over there. And I turned to my neighbor and said, this capitalism stuff is evil, we'll have starvation, babies dying. He said, well, you know, I don't really know that much, but the people who do are at the other end of the table. So I went up to Ayn Rand and Nathaniel. I put my head between them. I was 21 years old, a senior in college, and I said, there's a socialist here who wants to debate someone on socialism and capitalism. And Brandon was very generous. He said, okay, I'll come to the other end of the table and talk to you on two conditions. One, you don't allow the conversation to lapse with this one time, but we keep going until we reach some solution or agreement. And two, you read two books that I'll now suggest to you. One was Atlas Shrugged, and the other was Henry Hazlitt's Economics in One Lesson. And I read those books, and I came to Ayn's house and Brandon's house, and in about 5 sessions, I was pretty much convinced. I mean, I read that Atlas Shrugged the first time when I was 21, and I've read it every 10 years since, and I get more out of it every year. That is the best novel ever created as far as I'm concerned. So in terms of converting people, give them Hazlitt's Economics in One Lesson and Atlas Shrugged. My own book, Defending the Undefendable, was sort of an homage to Hazlitt. Hazlitt had one theory and 30 illustrations of 30 chapters. My book, Defending the Undefendable, which is available on the web for free, had one theory, libertarianism, and gave 30 examples. So I'm a big fan of Atlas Shrugged, not some other stuff, because I think, you know, this anti-religion came from her. And she would add adventitious things like, I love Mozart and I don't like Brahms that much. And she said Mozart was evil and Brahms was more rational. And I figured, wow, epistemology, metaphysics, I'm not really interested in that if that's what it is. I'm just interested in liberty and free enterprise. So I would advocate, if you're trying to convert anyone, get them to read Hazlitt's Economics in One Lesson and Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged.